Picture this. You are in the audience listening to a speech. The speaker starts strong, grabs your attention, and leaves you inspired. What made it so effective? Was it the powerful beginning, the relatable examples, or the impactful conclusion? Today, we will break down the conventions of speeches and talks and the proven techniques that will help you build a connect with your listeners. Ready to dive in? But before that, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. It is all about crafting words to inspire, persuade, or inform. Hello, students. Today we will learn all about speech writing, how to write an effective speech, the tips and tricks, and the technique for writing a speech. So, without any wait, let's start and dive deep into the topic. So before we begin, first of all, let us see what is a speech. The speech is a spoken address delivered to an audience, typically with a specific purpose. So while you are writing a speech, you should have a specific purpose. So when you will be told to write a speech for IGCSE English exam, you will always be given a specific purpose. That can be direct or indirect sometimes, but it would be somewhere related to a purpose. So while you're writing a speech, you can either be fulfilling the purpose of informing, or maybe persuading, inspiring someone, or it can be entertaining, or even educating. So this is what a speech's job is to do. This is what a speech does. Let us now understand the purpose of the speech. So its objective, as we have discussed, is nothing but to inform, persuade, entertain, or inspire the audience. Is it? Is it the purpose of a speech? The purpose will shape the tone and structure of the speech. So when you are writing the speech, you need to ask a question to yourself. Is it informing the audience? Is it persuading the audience? You want to convince your audience, or you want to inspire or entertain your audience? So according to that will decide the tone, the language that you are going to use for your speech. Whether you are going to use the formal language or the informal language, which kind of language exactly, the choice of words will come only when you decide the objective of your speech. Then the audience also matters. Addressing the audience appropriately is very crucial. Formal speeches require a different tone and language compared to informal ones. So as we all know that addressing the audience again plays a significant role in understanding and in knowing what tone exactly we have to apply to our speech, our written speech. Let us now see the structure of a speech. So as we have discussed before as well, whenever any creative writing is being told to write, we all know that it has a basic structure of 3. It starts with always an introduction, then the main body comes, and after that the conclusion comes. And it goes with all types of writing skills. So for the structure of speech, the same we are going to do. So introduction should be a captivating opening that grabs attention. So while you are writing the speech, you have to ensure that you give a captivating introduction opening. So maybe you should use a quote, which is even if it's written in the passage from which you have to do the directed writing, or maybe you can write one by yourself. Maybe you should be introducing it with an anecdote, or maybe a provocative question. So this is how your introduction should look like. Then comes the main body. So there you need to develop your key ideas, and very logically you have to put it, sequence wise and logically. All the ideas should be concise and logical. Use paragraphs for clarity. This is really important to understand that while you are writing any write-up, that should have a proper and good paragraphing. So use your paragraphs for clarity. each focusing on a single point, and ensure that when you are changing the paragraphs, you are introducing a new point in your new paragraph. So that is what main body is about. Then incorporate persuasive techniques like rhetorical question. We will discuss in detail what a rhetorical question is. And you should always also incorporate repetition and emotive language. So if it needs to entertain or inspire your audience, if you do not need to inform your audience but to inspire, then you know that you need to use a certain type of emotive language. Then comes the conclusion. So the conclusion is nothing but the summary, summarizing the main points. A strong closing line or call to action leaves a lasting impact. So this is how you should conclude your speech. Always structure your speech in this manner only. Never write random paragraphs, or never leave your speech without an introduction or a conclusion. So these things give a strong hold to what you write, and your examiner really gets attracted while seeing such structured write-up. Let us now know the tone and style that one has to know and has to follow while writing a speech. So for tone, adjust the tone based on the audience, as we have discussed, and also on the purpose. If you are convincing someone, your tone needs to be persuading. It needs to be persuasive. It can be formal, informal, humorous, or even serious. If you are entertaining someone, you should not use formal language. You should use humorous language. Then comes the style. So use appropriate language techniques. So we were to discuss rhetorical devices. So you can use rhetorical devices like alliteration, hyperbole, or metaphors to add flair to your creative writing, to add flair to what you have written, and it should stand out when the examiner is checking your writing. Then it needs to be differentiated. And how will you do that? By incorporating these rhetorical devices and also implementing the technique of rhetorical questions, which we will discuss. Emphasis. So emphasis, repetition of key phrases you can do, or words to reinforce certain points. That should also be done while writing a speech. Then direct address. Engage the audience with personal pronouns like using you. So again, this is something which is very important, that while you are addressing your audience, you need to use personal pronouns. Do not go generic. Go personal and address your audience by using you. Let us now see the persuasive techniques, and it is the three words: ethos, pathos, logos. So now let's understand what is ethos, pathos, and logos. So ethos is nothing but establishing credibility. Why should the audience listen to you or listen you? So why should the audience listen? If you are writing a speech on maybe recycling, or maybe pollution, or maybe pollution causing environmental damage, if you are an environmentalist, people would be all ears. People would want to listen to you because you are an environmentalist, or maybe you are a conservationist. So you want to save the environment. You want to work for the environment. So you need to establish a sense of credibility when you are writing. So your tone should be thorough, and it should come across as a credible person. Then pathos, appeal to emotions. This is what the meaning of pathos is, that evoke feelings of sympathy, anger, or joy. Again, it is all about the type of content, the type of topic that you are going to write upon, which will decide that what kind of tone you are going to use, whether you are going to evoke the emotions of empathy, sympathy, anger, joy, merriment, whatsoever it is. Then comes the logos. So logos is nothing but appeal to logic. So while you are writing a speech, it is very essential that you are being logical with whatever points you are considering and writing into that. So support arguments. So whenever you are giving an argument, support that particular argument with facts, with statistics and reason. So those would be given in your directed writing text itself. If not, then if you know some, then write in that. Let us now see some common mistakes which you should avoid while writing a speech. So first thing first, overly complex language that confuses the audience. So it's really important for you to understand that your language is everything. Your language is the medium, and it is what which is going to be it needs to be powerful. So while you are writing the speech and you are given the directed writing question, you should not rephrase what is already written, or you should not use overly complex phrases or sentences which is already written in the text in the directed writing. You should instead break down those phrases into simpler language and then try to make the audience understand your point in simple language. So your language, your tone needs to be not complex but simple. Then rambling without making clear points. If you are again, if you are putting a point, if you are putting across a point, then you need to understand that you need to give evidences for the same. You need to tell that where and why you feel that certain way, or why that solution that you are suggesting should be adopted. Then lack of connection with the audience or failure to adapt to their reaction. So if you are giving a spoken English speech, then lack of connection is where the audience fails to connect with you, and lack of connection only happens when you are not evoking any feelings. Instead, you are just speaking what you want to tell. So this is it about common mistakes to avoid. Let us see now pre-writing task. We need to understand directed writing outline. So while you are writing, the topic should be clear in your mind and be thorough with it. Then brainstorm ideas while you are still thinking to write. Then brainstorm ideas, and this is to be applicable for each of the writing skills that you do, that you need to brainstorm ideas. So if you are writing, why should we recycle more? Then maybe you should write about importance of recycling, maybe environmental impact, which would be because of recycling, ways to recycle more, or the personal responsibility as a responsible citizen. Why do you need to incorporate this idea? So that is what you should think about before you start writing. Then you need to also understand the purpose, as we have discussed, to persuade the audience to recycle more. So your purpose is to convince your audience to recycle more. And how are you going to convince your audience? By incorporating all these points which you have thought during your brainstorming. Let us now see the structuring of the speech. As we have discussed, it needs to have an introduction, then it needs to have a main body, and then the conclusion. Let's read this example. Did you know that recycling just one plastic bottle can save enough energy to power a computer for 25 minutes? Did you see? Did you observe that it right away started with a rhetorical question or a fact or a data? So this is a fact that is being produced here. Today I want to talk about why recycling matters. So you are already setting the tone that I am going to convince you for recycling. We often overlook the impact of our daily choices, but the truth is every small action counts. From reducing waste to conserving natural resources, recycling has numerous benefits. In fact, recycling helps decrease greenhouse gas emissions. So now, when you are saying that reducing waste to conserving natural resources, recycling has numerous benefits. So you are not just telling that it has benefits, you are actually providing evidences that which are the benefits. These are the benefits, that it helps in decreasing greenhouse emissions, mitigate climate change, and protect biodiversity. So you don't have to go on rumbling your thoughts. Instead, you need to produce evidence. So this is how we produce the evidence. As responsible citizens, it is crucial we understand the significance of recycling and make conscious choices. Then you are again convincing, persuading your audience. Let us explore why recycling should be a priority for us all. So this is again something which is very hooking. You will be hooked to the speech. You will try to understand. You will have the curiosity to know more about what the orator or the speaker has to say on the topic. Let us now see the body. So body might have 3 to main 5 points, or again it's completely subjective. You may write as many points as you want, or maybe your body might be not needing as many points, so you can write even lesser points. It all depends upon the word limit. So in body, which needs to at least have 3 to 5 main points, you can have lesser than 5 or more than 3 or just 3 also. So let's see if in this speech we have to write. How do we write? Point 1. Recycling reduces waste and conserves the natural resources. And the example is recycling 1 ton paper saves 17 trees. So when you say that it conserves natural resources, it reduces waste, then how? Because it saves 17 trees. Then point 2, recycling decreases greenhouse gas emissions. Then again a statistic for that, or an evidence to prove that you are correct, that recycling just 10% more paper can reduce emissions by 1.2 million tons. So the point of all of this, telling you the points and example and statistic, is that while you are doing your directed writing, you have to annotate and consider all the points that you are going to include. Wherever you are telling a point, you are putting a point, then you need to tell that point with an example or with an evidence. So always produce evidence. Let us now see the conclusion. So how can we write a conclusion? As we told that, as we have seen that in conclusion we should write a plan to action or something about the ways to implement it. So let us make a change. So also, did you see that there is a usage of personal pronoun, let us? It is not about you, it is about us. Start recycling today. Every small action counts. This is a call to action, and collectively we can make a significant impact. By embracing recycling, we are not only preserving our planet's natural resources, but also ensuring a healthier, more sustainable future for generations to come. Let us work together to create a culture of sustainability. Every individual, organization, community plays a vital role, and we can achieve this by, again, as I told you, that it could have it could be a plan of action, or maybe it could be suggestions. So here comes the suggestions. Making conscious choices in our daily lives, supporting recycling initiatives and policies, educating others about the importance of recycling. This is how you can contribute to recycling. Together we can reduce, again you can see that personal pronoun is being used, decrease greenhouse emissions and protect our planet's precious resources. So take the first step today: recycle, reuse and reduce. So this is how we have to write our speech, with an introduction, then the main body and then the conclusion. And just remember that do not ramble points. Instead, produce ideas and evidences to support your points. Then comes the writing tips. Let us know what all writing tips that we have to follow, we should follow in order to write an effective speech for our IGCSE exams. So, simple language is a must. Recycling helps our planet. Instead of recycling, mitigates environmental degradation. So as I told you, that do not use complex phrases. Instead, break down those complex phrases and write them in your own language. Then persuasive technique, just like emotional appeal, So you can use this emotional appeal to evoke emotions in your readers or your audience. How? Maybe by writing such sentences. See, imagine a world where our children inherit a green and clean planet. So this is something which is very provocative for the audience or for the reader. So this is a persuasive technique which you should apply to your speech. Then comes the rhetorical device. So rhetorical device is nothing but asking questions with obvious answers. Let us see how we can apply to this speech of recycling. That, ladies and gentlemen, as we consider the importance of recycling, I ask, what is the true cost of our throwaway culture? So the answer is very obvious, and still you are asking the question just to ignite the provocation in the reader, in the audience. Then the second example, can we afford to waste our planet's precious resources? So when you ask such question, can we afford? So the answer is obvious, no, we cannot afford, but you are still asking the question. So this makes your speech stand out, and it makes it look apart from the crowd. Shall we take responsibility for our actions and create a cleaner, greener future? Again, the answer is very obvious. So whenever you ask such questions where the answers are obvious, this is nothing but rhetorical device. More tips that are to be followed is sentence structure. As we have seen that use simple language, same goes with the sentence structure. Use simple sentences. Even though you are writing complex sentences or maybe compound sentences, do not use overly complex language in that. Instead of using complex or long sentences, break them into smaller ones. This enhances clarity and flow. And even if you are using compound and complex sentences, do not use really big sentences. Instead, make smaller sentences. Then, let us see this example, before and after, how we can rewrite the same thing. Recycling is essential for our planet's survival because it helps conserve natural resources, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and decreases waste. So it is like combining all the information in one sentence, right? But we can write the same sentence by breaking it down, by breaking the information into separate sentences, into simpler ones. See, we should recycle more. Obviously, this is one idea, that we should recycle more. Then it helps our planet in 3 key ways. How? So this is how you can be suggestive, that 3 key ways we can have the benefit. Recycling conserves natural resources first, then reduces greenhouse gases emissions second, and then decreases waste the third one. So instead of writing compound sentences, complex sentences, try writing simpler sentences and try to incorporate simple language as well. So that was all about the tips of speech writing. I hope you would have understood how you don't have to ramble your points, but you have to prove and provide evidences for the points that you are arising in your speech, and be very simple with your language. Use rhetorical devices, questions, and even the literary devices if you can. So that was all from my side. I hope you have learnt a lot, a great deal from this video, and continue learning, keep growing, and be curious.
Love what you watched? Give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, and subscribe for more.